Member for Prince George Valemount.
Well, thank you very much. Well, the Solicitor General might want to attempt to reject the concept of soft on crime, but maybe he should look a victim in the eye and say that. Every single day in this province, we hear stories of violent attacks, random violence, theft, an explosion, and the Minister of Housing should feel ashamed of himself. He stands up in this House, failing to look at the fear, the anxiety, the chaos, and the violence that exists every single day in this province. And what does he talk about? Success and how proud he is. Shame on that minister for not paying attention. This government and Premier can continue to stand up and make comments like that all day, but they need to understand the reality that small business owners are facing, that victims are facing in British Columbia. And we should be perfectly clear. It is absolutely this Premier's soft on crime policies and his decision to warehouse some of the most vulnerable British Columbians without the supports they need that has led to an explosion of social disorder, theft, and violence, and that is squarely on the shoulders of this government. Maybe the Solicitor General would like to speak to this person. Last week, we learned of a man who walked into downtown Vancouver to a clothing store. He threatened to kill the staff with a knife, and then he robbed the store. The prolific offender was arrested 4 times during a 3-week period, charged with theft, assault with a weapon, and 2 accounts of failure to comply. And guess what? He was released every single time and is back on the street today. That describes soft on crime in just about everybody's books. So when is the Premier going to at least acknowledge that they have failed abysmally, and it is time for them to step up, help small businesses, and support victims in British Columbia?
Solicitor General.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I appreciate the question from the member. And to suggest that we don't take those things seriously is simply wrong, and that member knows it. And we have concern for victims, Honourable Speaker. That is why, Honourable Speaker, we increased funding for victims of crime programs. Where were they when they cut it, Honourable Speaker? And Honourable Speaker, let's also be clear.
Hold it. Members, question was asked. Let's hear the answer now, please. Okay?
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And that is exactly why, for those kinds of situations which we have seen in this province and right across this country, Honourable Speaker, that this province led the way to get changes done at the criminal code to keep those kinds of people off the street, Honourable Speaker. And that is why we sought the commitment from the federal government to make the changes so that those kinds of individuals are not released, Honourable Speaker. They're kept off the street, which was to see an expansion on the reverse onus so that it doesn't just cover firearms, Honourable Speaker, that it covers knives, that it covers weapons, that it covers those with a history who've engaged in that kind of behaviour before, Honourable Speaker. That's commitment from this side of the House to get those kinds of changes, Honourable Speaker, and whether it's keeping criminals off the streets or supporting victims, this government has a record that we will not back down from in terms of trying to keep our communities safe.